Afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the LEAP program. My name is Speaker Amb.Chibuzo, and I will be your host for this program. So we are gathered here for a virtual policy conversation under the LEAP project, which is Legislative Effectiveness and Accountability Representation Project. This project is under Ergaf-Africa, and it is a means of discussing and bringing together citizens and policymakers and other stakeholders to discuss on how to make sure that every citizen is represented and governance is served better. So today, the theme of our program today is From Representation to Responsibility, ensuring legislative accountability to the people. Now, the LEAP project, which is the Legislative Effectiveness and Accountability Project, is an initiative aimed at enhancing the efficiency, transparency, and accountability of legislative practices in Nigeria. Spearheaded by the Ergaf-Africa organization, which is Erudite Growth and Advancement Foundation Africa. LEAP seeks to empower legislators, policymakers, stakeholders, and citizens with tools, knowledge, and strategies to improve governance through informed and effective legislative action. By promoting dialogue, training, and policy discussions, LEAP aspires to foster a legislative environment that is more responsive to the needs of the people, ultimately contributing to sustainable development and democratic growth across the nation. Now, the Ergaf-Africa Legislative Clinic is a term that is designed to serve as a clinic for the Nigerian legislative landscape. Much like medical clinic offers diagnosis, treatment, and preventive care, this initiative, the Ergaf-Africa Legislative Clinic, brings together legislative experts, policy analysts, and key stakeholders to examine the health of legislative practices, aiming to improve areas requiring urgent reform and enhance the effectiveness of legislative processes. Just as medical clinic provides tailored solutions for patients' well-being, this clinic is targeted to offer insight and address critical issues within governance, ensuring stronger accountability and representation. Through this initiative, the Ergaf Legislative Clinic will conduct comprehensive assessments, much like a doctor would do to a patient, to diagnose specific legislative weaknesses. These insights will help identify policies that need reformation and areas where processes can be streamlined for greater transparency and efficiency. Participants will engage in in-depth discussions and stimulations, focusing on building frameworks for a more accountable and responsive legislation. Ultimately, the Ergaf-Africa Legislative Clinic aims to prescribe actionable steps and innovative approaches that stakeholders can implement for a more robust legislative system. This program's diagnosis and reformative approach ensures that legislators, policy advisors, and the public are well equipped with tools and knowledge to foster an inclusive, accountable, and citizen-focused legislative process in Nigeria. So with that, I would like to welcome everyone to this program. And I hope that by the end of this program, we'll be able to start having things or start having actions to take in order to make our governance better, governance practices better. So I'm going to briefly talk about the managing director of Ergaf-Africa.
Which managing director? Are you on hot seat? Where is the managing director? Hello, good afternoon. Can we all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Hey.
Yeah, I think the moderator is still trying to find her bearing. So we won't be able to wait for that. I would like to stand in the gap for the guest speaker who just informed us that he is tied up in another class. That is Honorable Sunday Umeha, who is the Deputy Chairman, House Committee on Justice. So I will stand in the gap and then we'll continue the conversation. When he's able to join us, fine. If not, in subsequent sessions, I'm sure he will find time to join us. And other honorable members and stakeholders we're going to be bringing on board in this conversation. So like the moderator said, our focus today on this legislative clinic 1.0 is understanding the concept of representation to responsibility with a sub-theme that emphasizes ensuring legislative accountability to the people. Please, this is like a policy conversation. It's not a lecture, so I will expect that people will ask questions, people will make contributions, comment, particularly from your own experience and point of view. The way you perceive the legislators, the way you perceive the legislature, what has been your experience around whether your representatives are representing you, not just as collectivism, but also as individuals. Every single Nigerian has a legislator representing him. You have a senator representing you. Everyone has at least one senator representing him. In many cases, some people may have more than one, depending on how they were given birth to. But statutorily, each person has one senator representing your senatorial district. Each person also has one House of Representatives member also representing your federal constituency. Each Nigerian citizen equally has a state assembly member representing your constituency, irrespective of where you live or reside, whether it is in your local community or you're living elsewhere apart from your place of birth. Wherever you may be in Nigeria, there is one state assembly member representing you. If you go to the local government level, there is also one councillor known as a resident representative, also representing you at the ward level. Now, why we crafted this particular theme is essentially out of what has been the experience of people and commentaries in the news and discussions. people in Nigeria today are questioning whether their representatives are representing the people or they are representing themselves. The notion of representation itself presupposes that someone is representing somebody else for a particular defined purpose. So, in terms of the legislature, we elect representatives, legislators to represent us in the National Assembly, both the Senate and the House of Reps, and the state assemblies, and of course the local government councils. So, in terms of representation, flowing from even how democracy evolved, is such that we all, as because government or democracy, as they say, the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So, but all of the people cannot all be in government. So that is where the strand of democracy concept called representative democracy now came to play. In this sense, we have to, through electoral system, select a few of us that will go to government institutions and represent the people. It presupposes that the people, like a scenario where the Constitution in section 14 vested the sovereignty to the people. So the people that are in government derive their power and authority from the citizens of the country. That is the idea of sovereignty belonging to the people. And one of the most express and sure way of transfer of such sovereignty for representative government is through the electoral system. And that is why people are elected to go and represent. So basically what this particular policy conversation is interrogating is how do we, based on the perception and complaint and challenges of people, how do we transit from representation in a nominal understanding and point of view to responsibility? Because actually, the reason the people invested their sovereignty on these representatives is for the purpose of what? Responsibility. Responsibility in terms of making law that reflect the common good of the people, conducting oversight to ensure that there is value for money and compliance with government laws by implementing agencies, providing constituency representation that ensures that the voices of the people are aggregated, articulated, and presented to government, and also bringing the government policies back to the people to ensure that people understand government policies and why, and then take feedback from the people to the government to mainstream those feedback within the policy framework of government. In any country, in any state, in any formation, any social formation where there are no people, trees cannot conduct government affairs. You know, roads cannot conduct. In fact, you build roads because of human beings. So the people, the human beings must be at the center of representation. And that is why we are talking about moving from representation, which is what we do through electoral process, which is being responsible and responsive toward the citizens. Now, in Nigeria, for instance, citizens, a greater percentage of the people, if not almost 90-something percent, if you ask them, are your representative or legislators representing you? They will say no, they are representing themselves. In another survey, if you ask, if you narrow it down to individual legislators, you will hear something. Oh, my House of Rep member or my senator is trying. Other people will say, he's not trying. Since we elected him, we have not seen him. Are legislators able to understand the nexus thinking now in terms of governance structure? The nexus thinking is a thesis that proposes that there must be a cause and action, the intercept of an idea, policy to action, and how it impacts the people. Are the politicians and the legislators thinking about how representation connects with responsibility and impact on citizens? If so, what are the tools or structures in place for them to be accountable and responsible and responsive to the people? One of the important tools are issues of constituency services and representation. In this manner, things like constituency offices are supposed to be opened by the legislators so that citizens and residents can visit there to find out information about government policies, about what the representatives or legislators are doing, or even, other things they may wish to inform their legislators. So for legislators that have open constituency offices, is there a connection between that office, their representative function, and their responsibility to the people? Are people going to the constituency office? Do people have confidence to go there? Are they going there to report cases? Are those cases being documented and transmitted to the National Assembly or State Assembly where the legislator is? And what is the turnaround time for paying attention? And what are the type of issues citizens even take to these representatives? Is it issue of community development? Is it issue of intervention for common good? Many legislators have also complained that most times they get most of the complaints or intervention people seek from them are payment of school fees, payment of hospital bills. Oh, my child, we are doing dedication. I'm dedicating my baby. We are doing burial. A lot of social activities regarding attending burial, attending child dedication ceremonies, and what have you, have become in the mainstream of representation functions. So people were to discuss it here as a policy conversation. If your legislator does not attend burial in his constituency of certain people, it is almost like a crime and a taboo that can make you lose base with your supporters and probably lose election. And for each burial, the legislator is meant to contribute money towards it. So since the legislators are complaining that these things are not their functions, and the people are complaining that the legislators are not representing them well. So where is the nexus? What kind of representation do citizens expect? And what is the thinking of the legislator regarding representation, responsibility, and accountability to the people? These are issues we interrogate on legislative clinic, because here we try to diagnose what the sicknesses or symptoms, or what are symptomatics of certain actions and effects that we see. Legislators, people expect them to conduct public hearing, or what we call a constituency briefing, constituency accountability briefing, tell them, come back home to the constituency, tell the people, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing, this is how much our constituency has in the budget, what are the projects we are to put into it. People say they are not even aware of the projects their representatives are doing. And then the legislators say, oh, if we come back to hold all these constituency outreach and constituency briefing, you need a lot of money to come, because many people will come and start telling you to pay for this, to pay for that. So is there a knowledge gap regarding what the people expect? Is there expectation management issues? Is there knowledge gap regarding the roles of each stakeholder in this in the legislative governance space, and how do we address it? So ultimately, the idea is that the feelings we get is that citizens do not feel that representatives are accountable to them in a manner they are supposed to be. And this leads us to classical issues regarding behavior of a legislator. In the early days, there are proponents who talked about legislator as a delegate. If you view legislator as a delegate, it presupposes that he is representing the people and must defer to them in everything and make sure that his decisions and actions align with what the people want. Now, that also presents us with another issue about consensus. Is there a consensus actually about what the people want? And how do you manage such divergence or of opinion and interest regarding what is needed or expected? For instance, if a legislator has 100 million votes in the budget and he calls constituency briefing or constituency outreach and says, this we have 100 million votes. What project should we use it for? Is there possibility that when the constituency members gather, they're able to agree on a common project that they are going to do? So, and is this enough reason of such perceived disagreement that will make a legislator solely choose whatever project, or by calling a few people on the phone and decide the project to put? So how do we balance this? Then there's the other view in terms of even voting in a bill. Like now in Nigeria, we're dealing with the tax reform bill. What has been the role of legislators in terms of, as a representative, having responsibility towards the people? Are legislators engaging their people to say, how should I vote in this critical economic bill? Because the bill has a lot of implications, both for physical enhancement of the Nigerian economy and also a burden of tax on a few individuals and other structural adjustments in our revenue design. So are citizens sufficiently equipped to go into this level of a complex dynamics in policy discourse? Are they equipped? If they are not equipped, how can they get involved? Can it be broken down in a way they can understand? Because every government policy has implication on everyone, whether you're in the urban, whether you're in the rural area, no matter your concentric circle, every policy affects you in one way or the other. There's other school of thought about what the character of a legislator should be in terms of behavior. Looking at the two prominent classical views, the trusteeship, that a representative functions as a trust. In that case, he exercises independence of opinion on key issues. So you have, which is the view many people canvass from the government sector. Oh, you have elected us to represent you. Allow us to represent you. You don't need to come and teleguide us, tell us what to do, because you trusted us and gave us your mandate to go and represent you. That is what we are doing. And they will add that any decision they take, the best interest of their people. So is this a reality? And then there is the hybrid view, school of thought that considers both delegate view and trusteeship view, in the sense that the legislator is expected to behave in a certain way when maybe a matter is sophisticated and is at a level of national interest. You see the legislator should exercise trusteeship disposition. When it's a matter that borders more on the interest of his immediate constituency, the school believes that the legislator should behave as a delegate who simply does the bidding of the people who sent him without adding his own views. In terms of literature, there are other views about the behavior of a legislator and what have you. We won't dwell into that because 1.0 is not the only conversation we are going to have around this, moving from representation to responsibility. But why this is important is that a lot of Nigerians actually feel that they are not being represented by their representatives, that they don't even have access. So who are we to blame? Because a representative rather, that the people he or she is representing doesn't even have access to the person, or they are unwilling to have access. How do you handle this type of a situation? Who is to be blamed? Should the representative make effort to have the people connect with him more with the use of technology? Should we have a rule compelling all lawmakers to have a website, have Facebook and social media handles to make themselves available? Because right now, it is if you want, you have social media or website, because it also costs money to run those platforms. So, but it's an important technology that can help people access their representatives, because that access is critical to responsibility. If you're representing me and I don't have access to you, your responsibility towards me will obviously be limited. And then accountability gap will also expand because there is no access, there is no meeting of points. And then how am I even going to be able to ask you about what you are doing to, promote our community or our constituency? So these are the issues we're looking at and then interrogating. But what is key is that in the contemporary Nigeria, people want their voice to be heard more. People want to be represented more. That is why you see all the agitation of what we call symbolic representation in mainstream literature. Youth fighting to have youth in parliament, right? Women fighting to have women empowerment. The people that are physically challenged are fighting to say there must be, a kind of quota system that are, because when the notion is that when women are on the table, then there is going to be a balanced view in terms of decision making. Then, because as they said, anything for you without you is obviously may not work for your favor. So if you're in policy, this is the idea of symbolic representation. So, elderly people can't really know youth problem. So you need youth in parliament to be able to bring the balanced view of young people in policy making. Oh, men can't quite understand women in totality. Oh, you need quota system to have women numbers increase in parliament so that they can handle the policy issues that impact on women. Oh, if you are not physically challenged, you may not really understand what they face. So in policy making, we need to have them at the table. Oh, if you're from a majority group, you may not understand the challenges people in the minority face. Therefore, you need the minority people or marginal communities to be represented in policy making decisions. These are symbolic representation, fights that are going on, expanding the administrative state to open the space for more people instead of being in an enclosed system for more people, to participate. So, but how should legislators move from this? And one of it is engagement, public engagement. Well, another one is which is like constituency outreach. Another one is also establishing legislative agenda. You see, there must be a plan for something. Another one is conducting a constituency mapping, having a feedback mechanism also, having a functional constituency office, having a communication channel that is open and also accessible. These are critical, process by which a legislator can translate representation to responsibility and able to provide accountability to the people. Because you see, as the name implies, representative, you are not of your own. You are representing someone else. And you have a responsibility towards that person. And you have to be accountable to that person. Whatever privilege of office you have is because certain group of people through the electoral process donated their sovereignty, which is power and authority, to you to function on their behalf. This must be understood clearly as a representative. Therefore, when you move, you look at the population of your constituency. In terms of representation, these people are the ones moving. When you speak having the picture of the population, of the issues, of the challenges of your people, their aspirations, they are the ones speaking. And of course, for national, interest. So whatever decision you make, whatever project you want to execute, has to be a project that also reflects the popular will of the people. For instance, a people that is in need of water cannot receive school. They will still have the school, but it has not addressed their most challenging situation, which is the reason for the constituency outreach or having a stakeholder forum system that is able to interact and then give feedback on the policy direction. Also, capacity must be built because if we put the burden on the legislator alone, then we face a very big risk. Capacity of communities and constituency members, local-based organizations, faith-based organizations, youth group, women group must be built around demand for accountability. The truth is that accountability is a buzzword in our political space, but it's one of the most difficult things to implement. And the reason is that nobody is wired to just be accountable. It is without accountability being demanded for, it may go into redundancy in terms of the supply for accountability. So if you look at accountability, transparency, responsibility towards citizens as a representative, it is both a supply and what? Demand. And what I know about politics is that when the demand is high strategically, the supply will yield. The supply chain will yield because the pressure could impact on a political capital. If people, let's say in a community, a particular constituency of 3 local governments, people their government job is going on, constituency members are not aware that the government is conducting recruitment because they may not know. They may be in a place where they cannot hear anything on radio or have television and all that. So the representation system must, transport the information to them in the manner which they can be able to get it and participate to benefit, because that is why you represent. You have to bring information about what government is doing. It could even be that government is saying, oh, you need to do your BVN and it will end on so time. Now, if representatives don't take that information, package in a manner that it can be responsible, be profitable to their people, what you get is that the people will miss out and be the one that will struggle because they could get the information late or because it is sent from a government that is far from them. They may not take it serious until the thing is closing. It could be voter card collection or registration. It could be NIN. It could be BVN or change of note or whatever policy of government. Without the instrument of representation working in a sync, connecting factors and variables to make sure people have information in the local communities, the people will struggle and face challenges. So it's not just about solving infrastructure problems, social problems like education, health, and what have you. It is also about information availability. If recruitment is going on, that anybody that did not apply will not be considered, and people in your constituency are not aware, you have underrepresented them in that respect. So it's important to provide information, and other. Now, the point I was making is, if this supply is weak, which is what many Nigerians believe that they are weak, representation supply, they said is weak in Nigeria today, and you agree to an extent. But what is the role of the demand factor? the demand factor have to organize. If a three local government is being represented by somebody and there's short supply of, responsibility, and these people organize themselves, 10 people, just 30 people per local government, per constituency, 10 per local government. And all of them come online or even physically to call out their representatives. Say, how can this be going on? And we are not aware. We demand you have represented us for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. We want you to tell us what you are doing. You are not there for you. You are there on our behalf. Before you know it, those 30 voices can be amplified to become 1,000 voices, and the person will have no other option than to what? Start issuing statements to explain himself, or even come back to the constituency to conduct constituency outreach. So I've been able to present a view that suggests that this idea of representation to responsibility, ensuring accountability to the people, is not a responsibility of one end. It's not just the responsibility of the legislator, even though he has more burden of it. But the demand for accountability is also important to stimulate responsibility. Why? If you don't, the tendency that the person will continue the way he or she is functioning will be there, and the people will be greatly impacted negatively, because underrepresentation will be the order of the day. It's like a representative is like an ambassador of a country in another country. Let's say ambassador of Nigeria to the United States. If he refuses to represent Nigeria there, though Nigeria has an embassy in the United States with an ambassador, but Nigeria will simply not be visible and not benefit from maybe diplomatic relations that can enhance our economy, improve our security situation, and the welfare of citizens. And you see that even in our diaspora and the missions, where Nigerian citizens feel that they don't really have a government that is standing in the gap for them. This is a feeling, but it can be addressed. It's a feeling. It also has a lot of stories of lived reality of people who feel that their government has really turned back on them. But staying on this issue of legislature and how we move from representation, which is this is my representative. Oh, who is your honorable member? Knowledge. First of all, who is everybody? I have said when I started this discourse, has one representative or the other. Do you know them? You don't think about, oh, I didn't vote for the person. No, the person is not just there for the people who voted for him. And this is what we must correct in governance system. There is a political time where every citizen expresses themselves who they prefer to elect as a representative or not. Once that is done and somebody has emerged and is sworn in, the person has a responsibility to represent everybody. And everybody has right to demand accountability from that representative. So the burden is both on citizens, the burden is also both on the legislator. So having that knowledge, understanding that the legislature is very, very important. And that is why at Ergaf-Africa, we have also launched this deliberative scorecard project, where we are tracking how effective, responsible, responsive, and accountable legislators are towards policy making to their people. When a policy is proposed, how is it robustly debated? Who contributed to the motion? And what did they contribute? How did the House or the Senate respond to that contribution? What impact will that contribution make? What each representative, what is their character in terms of policy focus? Are they more interested in contributing towards educational issues, security issues, health issues, and what they are speaking on in terms of volume by sector? How does it reflect the prevalent socioeconomic challenges within their own constituency? If your constituency is facing serious security threats and challenges and out-of-school children, and you are talking about foreign affairs issues, you are talking about manufacturing issues, it will show in the deliberative scorecard report that there is a gap between how the representative is representing and the issues his or her people care about. And so this is a very novel idea that was put forward, and we are grateful to most of the people who have worked on it to this point. So I think I'm going to stop here for now so that we open the floor for questions and comments and the sharing of experiences about what it means to you. What does it mean to move from representation to responsibility? And what strategies do you think we can evolve to ensure that representatives are accountable to the people so that we can all, deliver good governance to our Nigerians, wherever they live and where they work? Thank you. Moderator.
Thank you very much, sir, for this very insightful talk. We have heard it from him. Responsibility is of two ways. Citizens have their part to play and the representatives have their part to play. So please, if anyone has any question or comment, you can write it down in the chat so that we can.
No, the person should speak.
Okay, we can also give you the floor for you to ask your question or put out your comments or suggestions. So you can raise your hand, like indicate, use the raising hand feature to ask your questions or talk about your comments or your experiences or anything you want to add. Thank you.
Yes, Madam Speaker. Arnold. We're in interactive section now, so please, let's interact. Share your views.
You can unmute your mic and talk, Raphael.
So, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for that insightful session. Okay. I think you have given like a good background and understanding when it comes to like representation and how to seek proper representation. But I want to also acknowledge or make us acknowledge this, like in reality, why this is obtaining. Before we seek or ask want accountability from our legislators, don't we have a critical part to? When I ask that, I mean prior to them sending them to be our representative, they will usually ask a lot from them, financially, technically, in terms of, let's say, even in different ways. Now, when you ask of those things before sending them to be our representative, are we now supposed to still ask them to now represent us after they have done so much to get that opportunity to represent? Because if they go there now, I've spent a lot of money, done a lot prior to them going there. Now, how are they supposed to manage themselves or fund these offices? Yes, money has been provided, but how will they now make up for all they have spent since before? I think someone said elections are expensive, and if you want to win elections, you have to have money and a lot of it because you have to spend to win. So if these people now win and go there to represent, and they have to now recoup the money they have spent, how can they be accountable and represent the people if this has happened? How, that's one. Then the other part of technology and all those things. For we to now go to that point of investing and incorporating this, how do we move away from that kind of sending representatives to represent us to a situation where we seek or ask for people to bring up their scorecard in terms of what have you done, and not asking them to provide some certain incentive to be voted? That's my own, because that's what I'm seeing in reality.
Yeah. No, thank you for that very important question. And you painted a reality that we face. But the first one, I will answer it this way. It's not just the people that demanded to be given money. They didn't come out openly, but I know that is what you're talking about. Like money for vote buying, as they say, or other things. People borrow money, sell their houses to contest election, and the people did not ask them to sell their houses. They are the ones, if you ask people who underdeveloped them and cause social economic hardship for them. And therefore, the people are disempowered, because as the people, they say, our experience is those we elect, when they go there, they become rich man. When they were contesting, their gates used to be open. We will stay and work together till midnight. Anytime you come, you enter. Once they win an election, they add more coaches to the fence of their houses and put security outside. We can assess them. They say their life is now under stress. So the question is, why was a politician who was free with the people campaigning now suddenly need a lot of security to protect himself? Because simply there is poverty and hunger in the land. And being a representative of the people, people will want to come to you to demand a solution to those things. So you find a way to build a wall against them. So going back to specifically responding to that question, the purpose of the two monies are not the same. One gave money to the people so that he can win election and go and represent them. When he gets to office, government gives him money to come and work for the people. And the interesting thing is, whereas he cannot prosecute people for giving them money to vote for him because it's an illegal and unconstitutional transaction, he can be prosecuted for diverting government money meant for development of the people. So he has no legal right to claim that because he sold his house and paid people money to vote for him, he has to divert the money meant for the development of the people. That thinking and that logic will not work. So, but on a greater measure, what should we do? What we should also do is to, like you highlighted, make sure that before we even talk about demanding accountability on the people we have chosen, we should first of all conduct audit and accountability of the leadership recruitment process, ensuring that we have an electoral system that allows people who are credible, even though they don't have money, but people can see their credibility and vote for them. So that the influence of money, the influence of vote buying, clientelistic relationship, become, has less influence on who becomes a leader, who becomes a leader or who wins the election in our electoral system. So for me, that is the that we have to make. Then on the other end of balancing managing expectation and what should be the role of lawmakers, if you look at it critically, can a lawmaker self decide now that, oh, I'm not going to be doing all this burial thing, child dedication, hospital bill, admission fee, and what have you. I will just focus on making law. And if you try that, you will not even come by. In fact, you may not win election again because you also want to win election. So the main problem is to lift people out of poverty, to give massive basic education to people. Because When people are educated, when the country is prosperous, people are, first of all, have the ability to reason. If you're hungry, if you're struggling economically, your reason is in your stomach. It is a reason of survival. You just want to be able to survive and get by. In Nigeria, people find it difficult to even get by, not to talk about getting ahead. So any situation that presents opportunity, that is why election period is like a Christmas or money-making period for people. Today, people now decide in a community how much their vote will be bought. But within the same community, you see people coming to say, this is our son. He's a credible person. Whether he bring anything or not, we are voting him. Other people will come and give them money and they will vote a different person. Whether their vote is enough to carry their candidate through. But you can see the political system respond to socio-economic, because political economy of any state cannot be diverged between political activities and economic activities. There is an interplay, they are interwoven. So if the people are demanding things that they need to survive, it is because those basic things are not there. And you can't tell somebody that is hungry that needs food that, oh, my role is to go and make law. Who are you making that law for? Is it not a human being? So this is the challenge, the dilemma we face. And it cannot just be solved with political behavior. For me, it has to be with heavy investment in education, heavy investment in diversification of the economy through massive economic and agricultural activities that will empower the people. Think about it. If you're able to go, how many people that you went to primary school with, secondary school, depending on which side of this thing, some of them found themselves on the streets after secondary school. In Nigeria, we don't have any concrete institutionalized social welfare scheme. We don't even have population to know how many we are and who we are. Where I asked in a forum I just attended, can anybody say now that this is where you are? How can when you change address, you move from one house to another? Is there a system that updates your address automatically across all your identity areas? No. Some 10, 15 years. Or maybe any day you enter bank, they say, you need to do updates. But we can actually do updates and integrate our data. Your government does not know where you are. But when you enter America today, they know where you are, they know where you traveled to, they know the day you traveled back to Nigeria and when you're coming back. It's not rocket science. When you go to UK, the same thing. You go to Australia, the same thing. Why is it that you can move from Ghana and return? Your government is probably not even aware. We are just trying to do electronic systems in our airports and immigration. That is the big challenge that we face. So when you have such a situation, addressing the problem of people not demanding how they should be represented. And remember, democracy is also cultural. We may want it done the way it's done in America, but I can tell you that economic factor, prestige, and other variables are responsible for why people. There are some people, if the honorable member or senator attend the their burial ceremony they are doing or child dedication, to them is a very big achievement beyond the money they will give. So there is also a class thing, the way we perceive and understand the society and community, our social formation, social philosophy, that will take a long time to decode. An orientation we build across time. But economic situation, poverty, as they said, over 80 million Nigeria is multidimensionally poor. In other words, they are poor in one area or the other, unable to go to school. I ask you, from your secondary school to university, how many of your classmates were able to go to the university? When you enter university, how many finished with your set? Go and interrogate it. If one person, I was telling you about social safety net, somebody can just die in the family or become sick. It can make 3 people to withdraw from school. No social scheme to intervene in such situation. In fact, nobody is aware except your family people. You can't build a governance structure like that. Such governance infrastructure can only underdevelop, make people not to have trust in their government. And that is why you see the big gulf between the belief of people in actions of government and the government, itself. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you very
I
much,
hope I
sir,
was
for that
able to respond.
Mr. Raphael, I hope he was able to respond very well to your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
I saw someone's hand raised up before. Ahmed, please can you unmute your mic and ask your question or make your contribution?
Okay, mine is a comment on the question that the last person asked concerning how expensive the political process is. I relate to that. Currently the Deputy Speaker of the University of Jos Student Union Government, the House of Parliament, and during the course of my campaign, I can really relate to that. That's at our own level, Student Union Government. It's almost like the world, it's almost like circular politics. You have to spend money. And the question is, how exactly can you win an election without following or working the way the system is? Because the system is that way. You need money for election. I honestly wish if somebody would show me how I could win an election without money. It's impossible. And I've observed that in circular politics, in fact, it's worse than the way it is here. You need money. The way the world has become now, almost everything you want to do, in fact, even to stay in office, if you want to have a regime that is successful, you need money, because to execute projects, you also need money for that. In fact, at this point, I'm beginning to understand why some politicians divert funds and all that. I'm not saying it's right, but the perspective is that during elections, by the time they get to office, they are broke. They have invested so much resources and money into campaigning, into delegates, and the system is like that. You can't single-handedly change it. And the system does not want to change. You come and meet it that way. If you go into the system, it's still the same thing. So I don't know how we can change that. And something like representation is sensitive. It should not be politicized. But this is how it is. It's the person that has the biggest pocket that wins, because the system is that way. And if you don't work the way the system is, there's no way you're winning. So I don't know what solution or what way I don't know if there's any solution to this issue.
Yes, I think there is a big solution. And we saw that solution in 2023 elections, where we had 3 candidates. The other 2 had very visible deep pockets who did not have. In fact, we interest you to know that some people did not even print a poster that were members of the Labour Party, and today they are in the House of Representatives. And some of them have started defecting from the Labour that gave them power to other parties. But, that's their own personal decision. It's not for this, our policy conversation. But what happened in 2023 is a demonstration that you can win an election without money. And what is the alternative to money? Trust, believability, cultivating a character, a trajectory that people relate with and believe. Nigerians were tired of the normal political statement and the way politicians function. Once they saw a glimpse of hope, most of them, that they could get it from the third force candidates. You saw the revolution that happened in the Southeast and South, you know, where the Labour Party candidate, nobody gave a chance. So we must not forget that history. That is alternative to money, particularly for the House of Reps, senators, and some of the House of Assembly members that won election under Labour Party without even printing a single poster. In fact, some of them filled the form just for completion's sake, so that it will be that the party has candidates in those places. They never anticipated they were going to win. They won in Lagos, they won in Abuja in the presidential election. And in the House of, in the Senate, they even got 7 seats. In the House of Reps, 2 seats. Someone said he was somewhere when they called him that he has won. He's not even participating. He didn't go to campaign anywhere, not to talk about giving anybody money. So alternative to money is believable character trajectory and trust by the people that you have something new to offer them. And you can actually build a critical mass. See, to win the Senate or House of Rep election without money is very easy. But let me tell you where it becomes difficult. If you are already in the legislature, if you're already in government, people believe because if you're in government, with the government, people have been taught to act like celebrities. They need to change the car they used to use. They need to change their dressing. They need to even change a lot of things to announce to the people that they have now arrived. But you see, this is not the orientation in other climes. In the UK, in Australia, in China, you don't become a government official and you change status and become a celebrity. This is the difference between us. So our politicians are competing with Nollywood in terms of appearance and status. This is the reason if you're in government in Nigeria, people, because the condition of the people have not changed, but they can see that you, who did not even spend money to conduct the election, your condition have changed. Your house in the village is no longer good, where you stay to run the election. You have joined the elite class, so you need a house where the elite people can come and stay. Understand the social formations and dynamics that affect the orientation of the people and how they respond to you. That is why when you hear that some Labour Party people are defecting, it's not just because they are defecting, because now they are in government. The people who put them are demanding so much from them. And when they got there, they discover they don't have all the things the people are demanding, which is why I say there has to be a strong orientation for both classes of people so that expectations are clear within the mandate of the people and they are managed. So yes, our electoral system is money bag based, but we have seen situations where people, by their goodwill, the trust and the belief people have in them, were able to overcome that system and they achieved the result they achieved. The Labour Party got over 6 million votes. In an election, they told them that their polling units are on social media. So that is something to build on if you want to change the status. In 2015, nobody believed that an incumbent government can be removed. We all ascribed overwhelming power to a president, how he can rig and do all that. But people who were not in power came and rigged him out or defeated him. Let me use the correct distance. And defeated him. And the president has to concede and leave power. On December 7, 2024, Ghana held an election. An incumbent party with their president and vice president as the candidate of the party lost the election to opposition who were not in government. And now they have conceded and opposition is taking over power in Ghana. In the United States, the vice president was the candidate of the ruling party, supported by the president and other machinery. A president who is out of power won that election and they have conceded. So it is not rocket science. It is building critical mass, having the strategy, computing, believing that you can win, irrespective of the state structure and how it has been set up against you. Yes, I agree, absolutely. Somebody, I think Ralph and Namet also mentioned that somebody who has spent hugely to win an election, how do you expect the person to use the money to come and be serving you instead of paying back the money he took? So we must also discourage people. If you want to spend huge money, they said not Hillary Clinton, the Vice President Kamala Harris of US, that her campaign is still owing after the campaign. And the way they do funding there is that they raise money from the public, and anything anybody is giving is announced publicly. Nigeria, nobody knows anything about election financing. Nobody knows where the government in power can find a way to use the resources of state to fund the election. Kamala Harris, despite being a sitting vice president, you can never hear that the CBN governor, Federal Reserve governor in the US, or some kind of government people use the project money for road somehow and make it become the money they use to run election. Rather, you will see them produce T-shirts, put in malls, people will buy them. People are donating $1, $100, $10,000, $50,000, and it's been announced, and they can show you how much they are raising per week, per day. And most of the monies are used for TV adverts to feed back to their economy by paying the people in the television, doing adverts and what have you. And people working there benefits, the economy benefits. Our own, you need to go and give it directly to people on election day as vote buying. So these are the complex dynamic issues in terms of comparative reasons why we face what we face. And I think that the point I'm making is that we can overcome this system by building a critical mass of everything in life is strategy, 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 strategy. Are people willing to come together, sacrifice, contribute their own money? Look at the BB Niger. It's a good example. What do you think? What is making people come to money, adopt a particular housemate and say, we are Titans, we are Tiger, we are this? And they are putting their money, even camp the street, to make somebody a celebrity. I'm not sure the value contribution, as many people have argued. However, this is their personal life. This is the interest. This is what they want to invest in. But the point is, imagine if this is how young people organize, adopt a candidate, put their resources on that candidate, look for people of influence that have money, go to the people, beg them. Some of the housemates, their supporters secretly meet with young billionaires, Obi Koban and them, give money and co, begging for support. This is the strategy you must adopt because political power controls every other thing. Political power can scrap BB Niger. So besides, even though rather, entertainment that stimulates you, you enjoy it, you invest in it, you adopt a housemate, you say this housemate is your life, I'm your fan forever, you vote every day, and you vote, that money goes to BB Niger company, and they use it to do some reward and what have you. We have to transfer that same energy to the political system, where we can adopt candidates you believe in, and invest in that candidate, campaign for that candidate. And when the candidate wins, he will discover that it was not one or two people or one leader, one godfather that just messaged for him and gave him power. It is something that is it is an important decision made by many people, and he has responsibility towards those people to serve them. Because the reason you came together and say you adopt this BB Niger something is for a reason. The same reason you must not say politics is for some people. It is for all. Look at we're talking about tax reform bill. If you made that tax reform bill, after you pass it, whatever implication it has, whether positive or negative, affect every citizen. If you like, be in BB Niger house or be in Nollywood theater, anywhere you are, be in the market, it affects you. So we must transfer young people's energy, organizing skill, technology, ability to pursue public policy, public governance, and participate actively in it. This has been my thesis. This has been it seems there is a huge gulf, a dichotomy between what excites, or rather public policy, public governance does not excite the people beyond the conversations we have online to, call out people. It's a form of accountability to say, we are not happy with what this government, but beyond that, the other leg of it, it is also making sure you police the leadership recruitment gateway, which is the electoral system. I saw a bit of that in 2023. We saw a bit of that in 2015 also, when a lot of young people put their back on Buhari, to come to power. We saw that also with people pushing P2B in 2023 to come to power. We need to do more of that. It is not against anybody because it's politics. It's a game of number, game of strategy, game of interest. But it's possible, And again, people must make themselves available. Like my executive assistant, Named, who chose to go and run for deputy speaker. It is in her CV for life that as a student in the uni JOS, she's the deputy speaker of the ASUG for life. Anytime she like, let her become professor, SAN. Anytime they want to give her something in Nigeria, they will read it and read to the part that, and maybe it is even 10, 15 years after she has left school. So for every place you are, every opportunity you have, you must be politically active. Because of her courage, if the parliament want to function in a certain way now, she would say, no, this is not the vision why I ran for office. I faced that as student union president, University of Nigeria. I imagine if I wasn't the president, they would have approved payment of one internet contract fee that will give every student an extra burden of almost 70,000 or 50,000 per student as extra payment at the time, because the people, some of the other people from other arms of government were playing games. But I stood my ground. I said, no, because I know why I ran for the office. I had the people, I was passionate about the people. I know I could stand in the gap for them and take right decision. So that is what it's about. I was somewhere doing a program and somebody said, if you allowed your classmates who failed in the class, you know them, they failed in the class, they could not pass very well, some of them drop out, and the next thing you are seeing them is that they have captured political power. Don't say it's God's grace. It was strategy to know that they have lost out intellectually, lost out probably in the society, and they can't recognize and respect them. The next place to find respect and social status is in political power. And that is why they go. And they now make decisions to control you, who said you are intellectually sagacious. So you must be available to provide the content you have to address societal issues. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for this insight. If any other person has a comment or contribution, I don't know, Arnold, Queen Esther, does anyone have a question or contribution to make before we move on? Okay. And so it has been a very insightful talk, and I know that we all have learned a lot. Now we are going to be coming to the conclusion of this program. But before we conclude, I would like to go through some points that have been brought out in this program. Some key points that have been brought out in this program, and please, we have like some action points to take. So during the program, Ambassador said that representation should have the citizens at the center of it, that because of course it is the citizens that elected the legislators, the representatives. So representation should have the citizens at the center of it. And he talked about social activities like burials and all those other things, child education being the center of everything. That is, of course, that is there, but that shouldn't be like the center of it. He also talked about communication channels, saying that things should be passed on, communication from the representatives as legislators to the citizens. People that elected those representatives should be able to have access to them so that they can know what exactly is the things to do or the policies to put out or the things to do in the places that they have gone to represent those people. So from this program, I know we've learned a thing or two. Moving forward, I think that we should get more involved. We should be able to know. We should go to research, go to know things about policy, get involved in political talks, in political discussions, try to know more about maybe starting from our fundamental rights. Yes, because that's like the first place. And Ergaf-Africa is attest to that, as we will be giving out trainings to people on those topics. This is going to continue. We are going to have more discussions. We are going to dish out trainings to people. And I also talked about the deliberative scorecard. That is also a part of what Ergaf-Africa will be doing to make sure that these gaps are bridged and that accountability is not only something that they talk about, but something that actually happens in our society. So thank you very much, Ambassador, for this very insightful talk. And thank you to the attendees that made our time to be here and to learn one or two. Thank you very much, everybody. Don't know if Ambassador has like a closing remark or something to before we go.
No, there are people who have not said anything. If they have something they can say. I know Arnold posted a message saying that this has been very educative. I've learned things I didn't know about the presentation before. Thank you so much, Arnold. And like our program assistant said, this is just Legislative Clinic 1.0. I look forward to when over 1 million people will be participating either on Twitter Space or on Zoom like this for this program. And we're going to also be bringing policymakers to also be our guest speakers. And of course, we're also going to be talking on topical issues in the legislature to help educate people. Because see, knowledge is power. I gave myself to legislative governance and research and policy and decided that I want to be armed, in that area. So it's the same way, because I believe that politics control a lot of things. It is responsible for ASU strike, bad road, many things that are health, poor health systems, poor educational systems. Because when the leadership is right, a lot of things will be right. This is the truth about leadership. It's so vital and plays pivotal role in every phase of our life. It doesn't matter which area, whether in the church, in the business, in the community. Leadership is very central. And political leadership, because of the formal authority nature of it, even recognized by God, it is even more serious and should be taken seriously. We are hoping outside this legislative clinic, policy conversations, outside the legislative scorecard lead project we are doing, we're also looking at legislative governance student fellowship program that we're going to be launching, very soon in 2025 by God's grace. And we're also looking at convening the Future of African Legislature Summit. So particularly my sister Namet, all those are team members, we have to make sure they are participating, because for me, I even love students, lawyers, law students, medical students, students in the university, and of course other people to be more involved, because they have a lot of unique innovations and ideas we can use to advance the cause of what we are doing. And I hope that the office will be able to package this particular session in a very solid way, using technology so that we can make it available on YouTube and other platforms for people to watch. And they will also learn one or two things, and that will stimulate them to look forward to 2.0 and join us for the conversation. Thank you all, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir. And thank you, everybody, for your participation. This is just 1.0, and it's going to go global. And this program will become a very wonderful program and a place for people to come and learn. So thank you, everyone, for attending this. See you in 2.0. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ambassador. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I've learned a lot.